This all started a few days ago with a group of priests performing some sort of ritual, their faces clearly brimmed with fear. And sure enough, one by one, the priests burst into blue flames, their screams getting lost within the night. Elsewhere, a boy named Rin Okumura brawls with a group of teenagers, stopping them from hurting a group of pigeons. Getting home following this fight, he gets chewed out by his adoptive father, Shiro Fujimoto, who is a priest and exorcist at the monastery. As the others at the church compare his careless self with his younger and better twin brother Yukio, Rin shouts at them to stop babbling. Truth hurts, lil bro. Suddenly, the church heater explodes with the same blue flames from earlier. Coincidence? I think not. Later, finishing up with chores at his new part-time job, Rin spots a young girl, Yui, running hectically after her scarf. So naturally, he steps in and grabs the scarf for her. But just as he touches that scarf, a mysterious monkey-like creature reveals itself. Confused, Rin runs after it into the store as it still has Yui's scarf. The creature, running uncontrollably, tips over a mountain of soda cans onto Yui, but Rin jumps in at the last second and saves her with his monstrous strength. The damage this accident causes gets Rin fired, so he gets home all bummed up. But there stands Yuaoi's father, thanking Rin for saving her daughter. Rin tries to explain to the man the creature he saw teasing Yui, but the latter brushes it off, thinking it as Yui's own imagination. This gets Rin mad, and so Fujimoto steps in, giving Yui a 4-leaf clover protection charm and sending them on their merry way. Later that night, Fujimoto heads to the church basement. There he opens an old box, where lay a blue katana with a seal. Apparently that seal is burning up, leading Fujimoto to mutter, "I thought so." The next day, Rin wakes up to a note from Yukio to not worry their dad anymore, as the latter has headed off to True Cross High School to pursue his dream of becoming a doctor. Going outside, Rin finds bug-like creatures that no one else seems to notice swarming all around. He then meets the same group of teens he beat up earlier, punching their leader Shiratori for bad-mouthing Yukio. Right then, Shiratori's appearance distorts into that of a bull-esque, something that no one else seems to notice yet again. He threatens to burn Rin, turning him into a human barbecue. Who let blood cook? Realizing that the bully isn't kidding, Rin shouts out at him to stop and suddenly flares up with blue flames. Those blue flames are the proof of Satan's offspring, remarks Shiratori, introducing himself as Astaroth. Referring to Rin as Young Master, the demonic being tells him that Lord Satan awaits his arrival. Fujimoto arrives on the scene, chanting a divine curse to exorcise Astaroth out of Shiratori. Fujimoto reveals that the world consists of 2 dimensions facing each other like mirrors, one being the material world, Asya, and the other being the nothingness of demons, Gehenna. Telling Rin that the demons will come for him, Fujimoto remarks that he is the child of the evil god Satan, born of a human. Having become accustomed to Shiratori's body, Astaroth goes to find Rin himself. Meanwhile, Fujimoto rushes to take the child of Satan back to the reinforced monastery, showing him Kurikara, the demon-slaying sword that seals his demonic powers. He urges Rin to always keep it on him, instructing the boy never to draw it, as doing so will awaken his demonic powers permanently. Fujimoto assures Rin that Yukio is still only a human, as the power rejected his body for being too weak in the womb. Them powers really said, skill issue. Afterwards, Astaroth and his minions break into the monastery. Fujimoto locks Rin in a safe room for protection, telling him to leave and hide somewhere in the morning when the demons weaken. He hands the boy a phone containing his best friend's number, who will protect him if push comes to shove. While Rin grapples with his reality of being a demon, Astaroth takes his true form, overpowering the exorcists. Right then, the boy shows up to continue his talk with Fujimoto and helps him exorcise Astaroth. Hurt and confused, Rin tells the priest to stop pretending to be his father, as he has been nothing but trouble all his life, getting slapped in the face. Moments later, Satan possesses Fujimoto's body and opens the Gehenna gate to drag Rin into the demon world. As the boy screams out for help, Fujimoto assumes control of his body and stabs himself, proclaiming Rin to be his own son. Refusing to let his father die like this, Rin unsheaths Kurikara. Unleashing his blue flames, he destroys the Gehenna gate by dawn, but it is too late. Right then, Yukio arrives at the site and rushes to Fujimoto, while Rin sheds tears. He wasn't the stepdad, he was the dad who stepped up. Later at Fujimoto's grave, Rin calls his best friend as instructed. Suddenly, Mephistopheles and his exorcists arrive. Expressing condolences for his friend's death, the weird man announces his intentions to dispose of Satan's son in the name of the Vatican. However, Rin insists on becoming an exorcist himself to beat Satan's ass in the name of his real father, Fujimoto. Impressed, Mephisto accepts Rin's request. Rin bids the monastery, his home for the last 15 years, farewell, wondering why Yukio hasn't talked to him at all. Afterwards, Mephisto shows up to meet him in a pink limo. Slay Queen. Right then, Yukio comes over to greet them as well, referring to Mephisto as Mr. Faust, as he goes by Johann Faust V in public. The three then head for True Cross Academy. There, Rin gets impressed by Yukio's speech as the freshman representative in the welcome ceremony. After taking a tour around the massive school, Rin comes across Mephisto in his shape-shifted dog form, who gives him a key that will take him to the cram school for exorcists through any door. Entering his exorcist class, Rin finds out that Yukio is his teacher and has been studying exorcism since he was 7. Shocked, Rin shouts, "Subscribe to the bloody channel." Just kidding. No, he doesn't. But do subscribe though, so you don't miss out on part 2. Anyway, while Yukio explains the agenda for their first class, Rin interrupts him and starts asking questions about how much he knows. Telling the class to go outside, Yukio reveals that he became an exorcist 2 years ago. Having gotten a spirit wound from Rin when they were born, Yukio has been able to see demons all his life. As Rin gets emotional and continues to argue with Yukio, he ends up spilling the rotten animal blood, attracting nearby demons. Fighting together to defeat the demonic beings, Rin and Yukio make up over their mutual desire to get stronger to protect each other. After class, Rin finds out that his roommate is Yukio. Rin accompanies Yukio for an exorcism request, during which the latter heads inside the Exorcist-only shop to stock up on some supplies while telling the former to stay outside. Rin ignores his brother's instructions and meets Shimi Moriyama, the owner's daughter, in the beautiful garden outside the shop. Telling Rin that it belonged to her grandmother who died recently, Shimi expresses her desire to go to the fictional Garden of Amahara, where God has gathered all the plants and flowers of the world. They really stole Sanji's whole all-blue flow, but made it green. Right then, Yukio shows up with the shop's owner, diagnosing that Shiemi is being afflicted by a low-level Dokalfur demon that dwells at her family's garden. Suddenly, the girl collapses out of exhaustion and later dreams about making a promise with the fairy of the garden to protect her grandma's treasure. At night, Rin talks with Shiemi, realizing that she blames herself for her grandma's death. Telling the girl to stop making her mother worry, Rin snaps her out of it. He makes Shiemi remember her desire of visiting the Garden of Amahara, vowing to chop the roots that are keeping her here to pieces. Working together, the Okamura brothers save Shimi from the demon's clutches, rekindling the damaged relationship between the daughter and her mother in the process. The next day, Shimi starts cram school. While Rin blushes at her sight, his fantasy gets shattered when he sees the girl seemingly crushing on Yukio. Guess bro really is the better one, no? Rin dreams of becoming the top exorcist in his class, someone who is praised and beloved by his peers, though his pipe dream is interrupted by a teacher waking him up to pay attention in class. Ryuji, another student with a rebellious appearance, glares at Rin in annoyance, having doubted his presence in cram school since day one. Dude doing tricks on it. Afterwards, Yukio hands the class their graded tests back, revealing Rin's remarkably low score, in contrast to Ryuji's exceptionally high ones. The two get into an argument, with the latter having a problem with the former's continuous slacking in class. Throughout the day, Rin and Ryuji continue to fight and clash against each other, even during practical training. While the teacher instructs Ryuji to stay out of trouble, his friends Shima and Koneko reveal his goal of defeating Satan to Rin. The group informs him that Ryuji is working hard to rebuild their temple, as its reputation got tarnished during the Blue Night incident 16 years ago, when Satan simultaneously slaughtered many of the world's prominent exorcists. As the arguments continue in the teacher's absence, Ryuji gets tired of everyone looking down on his goal and rushes to attack the Reaper demon to prove his determination. However, Rin intervenes and calms the demon, announcing himself to be the one that will defeat Satan. Bro is self-aware about his plot armor. In the distance, Yukio lowers the gun that he was pointing at Rin in case he unsheathed his Kurikara. He notes that Mephisto has much less control over Satan's power than he thinks. Meanwhile, Mephistopheles meets with Earth King Amamon and talks about Rin as their youngest brother. Having overslept, Rin rushes to class, not before eating some food. Later at the school's co-op store, he fights with Ryuji over the last of a sandwich. Nearby, 3 girls ask Yukio to eat their homemade lunches, though he declines, dragging Rin away to a cafe as an excuse to have lunch with his brother. There, Rin is surprised to discover that the school provides extremely fancy foods, with just as fancy a price tag. He asks Mephistopheles to lower the prices, getting refused. To rub salt in Rin's wounds, the principal hands him a measly 2,000 yen allowance for the entire month to cover his expenses instead. My guy's a certified brokey. Coming up with the solution for their situation, Yukio suggests that he will finance the groceries for Rin to cook lunches for the both of them, considering it's one of the only things the latter is good at. Of course, Yukio plans on solving the 2 problems of girls offering him lunches, and Rin oversleeping with this scheme as well. Preparing the side dishes for the next day's lunch, Rin goes to sleep, only to have them be eaten by next morning. After accusing Yukio, the 2 brothers discover that Mephisto is cooking their morning meals as a temporary replacement for a stove spirit named Ukobach, who is in a foul mood due to Rin trespassing on his territory without permission. As such, he is boycotting his job at the moment. Eventually, Rin and Ukobach have a cooking contest and become friends, vowing to make the ultimate lunch together. Afterwards, the 3 girls from earlier continue to stalk Yukio, spotting Shemi visiting his dorm. Seeing the homemade dishes made by Rin and Ukobach in the fridge, they assume them to be made by Shemi. Jealous that Yukio rejected their lunches but is eating hers, they end up throwing the lunches in the trash. This angers Ukobach, who proceeds to prepare literal stew out of the girls. Holy gigachad. Calming the stove spirit down with a pep talk, Rin forces Yukio to eat the lunches that the girls put their hearts and souls into. Yukio then gets sick from overeating, Being granted some time off by Mephisto, Rin and Ukobach prepare a large stamina lunch to help him recover. Though, little do they know, Yukio is starting to hate food due to their shenanigans. With the X-Wire authorization exams coming up soon, Rin talks with the guys to learn about its details. Seeing him having fun with the guys in the class, Shiemi vows to pull herself together and make some friends of her own. Later, a teacher conducts a test to see if any of them has the talent to tame familiars. The thick-browed girl named Izumo Kamiki summons an impressive 2 white foxes at once, while Shimi manages to tame a small green man spirit that she names Ni. Shimei then tries to befriend Izumo, only to end up getting used. Special place in hell for bullies like this far. Paku, Izumo's best friend, expresses concern for Shiemi, but the latter is brainwashed into thinking that this is what friends do. After the first X-Wire quiz during the 1-week training camp at the old dormitory, Rin pulls Shiemi aside and tells her to stop being Izumo's servant. However, despite realizing her situation, the poor girl doesn't want to depend on others all the time, wishing to become strong like Rin and Yukio. Meanwhile, Paku mentions quitting cram school to Izumo and scolds her for making a fool out of an honest person like Shiemi, like a real friend. Right then, a mid-level ghoul-type Naberius demon attacks them. Rin rushes to help them, but is unable to draw his sword in front of them. Shiemi then arrives on the scene, treating Paku with herbs provided by her plant-type familiar Ni. This gotta be Snoop Dogg's favorite familiar. Overpowered by the ghoul, Rin inches towards drawing his sword, getting saved by Yukio. Afterwards, Izumo bursts into tears for not being able to help her only true friend. Elsewhere, the ghoul retreats to the taming instructor, who laments becoming a pawn to a demon. Having nightmares of her recent conundrum, Izumo takes a stroll around the dormitory and meets Rin, making him promise not to tell anyone that she cried. Visiting Paku, Izumo apologizes to her for not being a nicer person, but gets assured that she is fine just the way she is. Why you always lying? Later, Rin wonders why the demons attacked his classmates if they are after him. Afterwards, during the Arya class where the students learn about chants used by exorcists to fend off demons, Kamiki unusually forgets the incantation. She then gets into a fight with Ryuji, mocking his goals of becoming an Arya and defeating Satan. The commotion causes the entire class to get punished by Yukio, since the boot camp's goal is to bond with each other as well, given that exorcists cannot fight alone. When Yukio leaves for a 3-hour mission, the lights suddenly go out and the students get attacked by the same ghoul from earlier, in spite of the former's barriers. While Rin seemingly lures the monster away from his classmates, another one emerges. Blood pulled out Naruto's shadow clone jutsu. Forced to bring out his blue flames to beat the monster, Rin learns that the demons were sent by the teacher from earlier to confirm his identity as the son of Satan. Meanwhile, with Koneko and Ryuji as Aryas, Shima as Monk, and Shiemi and Izumo as Tamers, the students work together to defeat their enemy as well, with everyone bonding over the experience. Later, Yukio comes back to the dorm, accompanied by the teacher who attacked the class. Just as Rin is about to lash out, Mephistopheles shows up, informing the students that the ghoul attack during the training camp was also their X-Wire exam at the same time. Surprise quizzes top 1 worst things in existence, no? As teachers were observing and testing them during it, Mephisto will decide the students' final grades after reading their reports. Later, Ryuji lashes out at the 2 guys who didn't help during the entire conundrum, one being a creepy ventriloquist and the other being a silent gamer. After thanking Shiemi for stepping up, the students question Rin about how he defeated a ghoul all alone. The latter nervously remarks that he just slashed it with his sword, convincing Koneko that he will become a great knight. Elsewhere, Yukio confronts Professor Neuhaus, the tamer teacher, about his decision to make Rin use his demonic powers during the exam. Neuhaus claims that he was following Mephisto's orders, telling Yukio to relax as he wouldn't kill his brother. Later, Yukio visits Shiemi at the shop to talk about her future as an X-Wire, reminiscing about the first time they met. At night, Neuhaus sneaks into the dorm to kill Rin and gets intercepted by Yukio. In the battle that ensues, the latter faces off against the former's strongest Naberius, overcoming the trial with his brother's help. Backed into a corner, Neuhaus reveals himself to be a survivor of the Blue Knight who lost his entire family and an eye at Satan's hands. I do not condone his behavior, but I understand. Hearing this, Rin promises to let Neuhaus have his way with him, as long as he doesn't drag any innocent people into this. This makes the professor hesitate, who warns Rin of others like him and walks away. Shimi then rushes to him, having made up her mind about being an exorcist. Later, Mephisto announces that all the students have passed the X-Wire exams and calls Amemon to handle what Neuhaus couldn't. Kuro, Father Fujimoto's cat Sith familiar before he died, learns about his master's demise, reverting to being an uncontrollable demon. Yukio gets assigned to deal with it, getting unwillingly accompanied by Rin. Though only Rin is able to understand what Kuro is mad about and hears it accusing the exorcists of being liars. The boy also learns that Fujimoto was a paladin, the highest rank in exorcists. Welcome to the big leagues, my guy. As Yukio prepares to exorcise it via an item given to him by Fujimoto, in case this happens, Rin insists on calming Kuro down himself, feeling the cat Sith's sadness due to telepathy between demons. Introducing himself as Fujimoto's son, Rin convinces Kuro that the paladin is dead. "Let's be friends," says the boy to the demon, making Yukio remember that this is exactly how Fujimoto tamed the creature. While Kuro bursts into tears and accepts Rin as his master, Mephisto, Amaimon, and Newhouse look on at the scene. These MFs are worse than paparazzi at this point. Afterwards, Rin and Yukio find out that the item given to them to exorcise Kuro is actually just catnip wine as a present for the familiar. Rin, Shima, and Izumo arrive at a beach for an X-Wire mission. While the boys handle the food stall, the girl goes for a swim, getting a cramp in her leg. A boy named Yohei saves Izumo, even calling her cute to go with it. Right then, the sea turns black. After learning that this phenomenon is caused by the ink of a kraken, the X-Wires find out that Yohei's father went missing while confronting the demon and plans to seek revenge against it. Later, the X-Wires get tasked to keep an eye on Yohei to prevent him from facing the kraken alone. Why not let Lil Bro F around and find out? Lame. Afterwards, Izumo volunteers to watch over Yohei, reaching some self-enlightenment while talking with him. In the evening, the kraken shows up and fights off against the exorcists. Kuro leaps to eat the demon, only to end up getting sick since cats cannot eat raw squid. While the X-Wires come up with a game plan, Yohei charges right in and attacks the kraken with a harpoon. Rin rushes to his aid, preparing to use his satanic powers to slay the creature. Suddenly, Yohei's father appears and reunites with his son, revealing that he actually befriended the kraken, but simply couldn't make it back home until now, due to their collective lack of directional sense. Nah, Oda-level fake-out death. Later, Rin, Shima, and Izumo wait for the bus to return home when Yohei arrives with his dog to bid them farewell. The girl gets disappointed upon realizing that Yohei found her cute just because she reminded him of his dog, who happens to have the same eyebrows as her. Regardless, Izumo deems the experience to be fun. Mephisto and the Earth King Amaimon keep an eye on Rin, while the boy and his classmates visit Mephiland, an amusement park. Dividing them into groups, Yukio assigns the X-Wires with the task of finding a ghost demon haunting the park. Rin pairs up with Shiemi, who is excited over finally being able to visit a theme park since she is too shy to do so otherwise. Afterwards, the two come across the ghost and find out that it's a pervy demon brat. As the kid runs away, Rin and Shiemi separate to look for him. The girl soon locates the ghost and realizes that he has the same excitement to play in the amusement park as her. In the meantime, Amaimon appears before Rin and steals his sword, forcing him into his demonic form. Pickpocket 100. Getting pummeled down by Amaimon, Rin loses control and taps into his satanic powers to attack him. Amaimon then causes an earthquake, putting Shiemi in danger. Hearing the girl scream, Rin rushes to her aid and regains control, using his demonic flames to protect her. The ghost thanks Shiemi for a fun day and disappears. All the while, Amaimon attempts to break Rin's sword. Suddenly, Yamada, the boy's silent gamer classmate, intervenes and saves him. Seeing this, Amaimon decides to end the little game and reverts Rin to his normal form, making him frightened by his loss of control and blacking out, reminiscent of his childhood. As Shiemi and Yukio rush over to Rin, Yamada reappears and removes her cover. Turns out she is actually a hot woman named Shura Kirigakure, a high inspector and upper first-class exorcist. Mommy? Telling the students to go back to the dormitory, Yukio and Shura Kirigakure drag Rin off to their base at the center of the Japanese branch of the Order of True Cross. After questioning Mephisto about his intentions with Rin, Shura takes the latter to the Great Cell for interrogation. Wish she dragged me to a cell. There, Rin learns that she is Fujimoto's former apprentice. Seeing the boy erupt in blue flames even without unsheathing his sword, Shura remembers her last conversation with Fujimoto. Before his death, the paladin had begged Shura to teach Rin how to control his demon's sword, considering her expertise in the subject. Though, their talk ended in a fight back then. Now, having confirmed that Rin is indeed the son of Satan, Shura announces that she is on orders to kill him. With her Kirigakure-style demon sword techniques, the lady beats around the boy with ease. As she stabs him in the chest, Rin grabs the sword, vowing to prove his late father right by becoming a paladin and kicking Satan's ass. Hearing Rin's love for Fujimoto, Shura gets amused and ends the interrogation, glad that her master wasn't raising a weapon but rather a son. Later, she hands the boy a wooden sword to practice his technique and holds on to his kurikara to prevent Amaimon from troubling him for now. Afterwards, Rin vows to keep moving forward and become a cool adult like his dad. All the while, Shura starts as the X-Wire's new teacher. Why? Couldn't teachers look like this when I was in school? The first semester ends, and Paku heads home, leaving 7 X-Wires behind. Just as summer break begins, Yukio announces that the students will be undergoing a 3-day-long training camp at a forest with him and Shura. There, Rin impresses everyone with his cooking prowess, making him feel warm and fuzzy at the realization that he has friends now. Happy for you, lil bro. Soon the test begins, having the stipulation of deciding who will get the 3 permissions to take part in actual missions. Finding the lanterns, lighting them, and coming back to the base on a first-come, first-serve is their task. Rin gets told by Shura to be extra careful about using his powers, since hiding the blue flames in the dark forest is an impossible endeavor. During the search, Shiemi ends up getting hurt by the demons in the forest. Enraged, a bit of Rin's demonic powers slip out, almost exposing him to Ryuji. Moments later, Shiemi wakes up, and Shima meets up with them as well. While Koneko messages them for help, Mephisto and Amaimon hover over the forest nearby. Nah, bro, gotta get a restraining order against them. Turns out the lantern is actually a giant demon that eats living beings once lit, and is impossible to be carried by one person alone, making the group realize that they have to work together to complete it. Through their combined efforts, the 5 X-Wires except Izumo and Nemu Takara almost get back to base with the lantern. Suddenly, Rin gets attacked by a giant moth. Rescuing Rin, his friends tell him to stop tackling everything alone and rely on their help, as he won't be able to face Satan alone. The boy questions what they would think if they find out his true identity. Heading back to the base, the group realizes that Izumu and Nemu each brought one lantern back by themselves, leaving them to be the last ones back. Suddenly, Amamon attacks them, and Shura fends him off with a barrier. The former expresses his desire to kill the latter, getting told off by Mephisto from doing such a thing. Meanwhile, Shura casts protection on the students, and gives Rin his sword back to help him fight back against Amaimon. Top 10 worst moments before disaster. Right then, Shiemi starts walking outside the barrier, having been infected by a demon parasite. Rin rushes after Amimon, while Shura holds back the latter's familiar. Refusing to unsheath his sword, Rin gets mocked and manhandled by the Earth King. This prompts Ryuji to ignore Shura's instruction of staying in the barrier, forcing Shima and Koneko to go after him. However, the 3 of them stand no chance against the demon and get beaten down as well. With his friends in danger, Rin realizes that he has no other choice and decides to unleash his full power, despite Yukio telling him not to. "I will use my power for kindness," proclaims Rin, transforming into his demonic appearance and bursting into blue flames. While his classmates look on in awe, a monstrous battle ensues, resulting in Rin completely overwhelming Amaimon. As Mephisto prepares to retreat with the exhausted Earth King, he gets attacked by an out-of-control Rin. Welp, they bow to call Tanjiro or someone to slay the demon. Wrong show. With his Kurikara beginning to crack, Rin loses control of himself and is about to attack his friends, getting calmed down by a hug from Shiemi. Right then, Arthur Augusta Angel shows up on the scene. Being the upper first-class exorcist from the Vatican and Shura's supervisor, he is the newly appointed paladin and looks to exterminate Rin on the Grigori Council's orders. Blood is a sheep. In the end, a trial is set in place against Mephisto, with Rin as evidence and Shura as witness. Meanwhile, Yukio informs the X-Wires of Rin's history. Ryuji recognizes the Kurikara as an heirloom of his temple, forged by a skilled swordsmith named Yoshikuni. Hearing this, Yukio begs him to save Rin, even if he is the son of the evil god, much to Koneko's dismay. While Mephisto pleads that he intends on raising Rin as a weapon against Satan, the X-Wires, except Nemu and Koneko, head to the 11th Yoshikuni, who is a female swordsmith. She tells them that the same jewel steel used in forging Kurikara will be needed. So, the group goes with Ryuji to an old temple to acquire it, where they face off against Mara demons that inhabit Buddha statues. Meanwhile, while Amaimon charges towards the trial, Mephisto proposes a gamble to the Grigori. He presents 2 options. Either Rin will become the savior of Asaya, or he will become the king of Gehenna. Why not both? At the same time, the Yoshikuni repairs Kurikara. Arthur goes to intercept Amimon with his Caliburn sword, accompanied by Shura. Though, the Earth King breaks through all defenses and reaches the room of the trail, where Rin is being held captive. In this dire situation, the Grigori allow Mephisto to go forward with whatever plan he has. Right then, Yukio and the others show up with the repaired Kurikara and pass it to Rin. With the demon-slaying blade, the boy slays Amaimon, who calls for his brother Mephisto in his last moments. Ouch, Blood got hoodwinked by his own bro. Following this, True Cross Academy gets assigned by the Grigori to look after Rin with 2 conditions. First, he must pass the Exorcist authorization exam in 6 months. Secondly, someone must keep an eye on him at all times, a task that Mephisto leaves for Rin and Shura. Afterwards, the boy reunites with his classmates, only to receive a cold welcome by Ryuji's group, since their families got slaughtered by Satan. Right then, Yukio arrives and drags Rin away for special training to control his powers. There, Shura wonders if the former is afraid of awakening Satan's powers one day, or if he wants to have them like his brother. Elsewhere, Koneko particularly struggles with his emotions after seeing Rin's rampage, becoming the target of a dark presence that is drawn to his fear and insecurities. Meanwhile, Izumo advises Rin to not be afraid of his flames, since that is what might be preventing him from controlling them. She can be nice now? Character development. Suddenly, the 2 get attacked by the dark presence from earlier. After Rin and Izumo fend off the attack, Mephisto Felis orders the X-Wires to inspect his 12,000 protective barriers for any possible breaches, since a demon called Gale has infiltrated the academy. While Ryuji and Shima wonder where Koneko has gone off to, the demon tries to coerce the latter into giving up his full consciousness to him. Blood out here playing among us with this gaslighting. Meanwhile, Yukio urges Rin to complete his special training since they have no time anymore. Suddenly, something comes over him, and he heads out of the room. Right then, Konekomaru arrives there with the demon on his shoulder. Rin attacks him, only to get reprimanded by Ryuji, Shima, and even Yukio, unable to see that something is wrong with Koneko. In the meantime, Shura discovers a concealed door that leads to an abandoned laboratory. Afterwards, Koneko wakes up to see burn marks on Ryuji's shirt that he got while protecting him from Rin. With this, Kaneko's fears come true, allowing the demon to take control of him. Getting possessed because you are a little bee is crazy. He attacks Rin, while Ryuji and Shima try to snap him back awake. In the end, Koneko refuses to let the demon hurt Rin, causing it to take him hostage. Asking the former to put his trust in him, Rin rescues Koneko and successfully slays the demon. Later, overwhelmed by guilt, Konekomaru decides to leave the academy and return home. However, Rin and the rest of his friends convince him to stay, assuring him that they will face any and all upcoming challenges together. Yukio experiments with his blood, having weird purple markings appear on his arm. Meanwhile, the X-Wires discover that Izumo's birthday is approaching. On Shemi's suggestion, they decide to organize a surprise party for her. However, Izumo ends up getting suspicious of their actions, after seeing that everyone is avoiding her. Maybe they just hate you, lil sis. Paku hanging out with a flirt like Shima doesn't help the case either. While Koneko and Rin bond over baking the keiki, Shimi invites Yukio to the party. Afterwards, Izumo tails Shima and Paku, getting the wrong impression that they are dating and intervening. L. Wingman, though, she eventually figures out the real reason for them being together and insists that it's unfair to only start celebrating when it's her birthday. In the end, the party transforms into a big birthday celebration of everyone at cram school. Seeing everyone having fun, Yuki reveals to Shime that he and Rin don't really know their real birth date, though the girl thanks him for being born regardless. However, the festivities are soon cut short when Yukio receives a call about the monastery being under attack. Rin and Yukio rush to the monastery, seeing many of their friends wrapped up with an indestructible spiderweb. Satan's kin will not be tolerated. This is the message left behind by the assailant, who is supposedly a masked man. Seeing this, Rin rushes off in search of the enemy, leaving Yukio behind. The former soon comes across the masked man, who vows to make him suffer and retreats after wrapping Kurikara's sheath. As Rin looks to go after him, he gets stopped by Shura, allowing Yukio to continue the chase. Soon, he encounters Neuhaus, who denies any involvement and quickly escapes without offering any explanation for his presence there. Dude out here moving like Batman. Later, despite having his sword sealed by the web, Rin insists on going after the masked individual. However, Yukio stops him with an instant tranquilizer, a move that even Shura deems to be too much. Along with other professors, Yukio goes after Neuhaus. Meanwhile, Rin wakes up and Shura gives him an ultimatum to learn control over his flames. Over with Yukio, Neuhaus ends up running away once again, and one of the professors gets wrapped in the spiderweb. To make things worse, they learn that the masked man has been spotted in the boys' dormitory of True Cross Academy. Arthur stops Mephisto from dealing with the situation, arresting him against charges of artificial life experimentation. Yukio heads inside to handle the situation without involving Rin, only to get taken hostage along with Ryuji, Shima, and Konekomaru. The masked individual calls over Rin, who arrives with Shura and other exorcists, who all end up getting captured. Determined to help them, Rin envelops everything in blue flames. However, his newfound control only burns the webs and frees everyone, defeating the attacker as well. Common Kai Control W. Whis would be proud. Seeing this, Yukio grits his teeth at not being strong enough to protect his brother anymore. Meanwhile, Neuhaus gets captured and reveals that the masked individual is actually his wife. Later, an exorcist takes Yukio to talk to someone. Shimi discovers an unconscious woman in the garden of the exorcist shop and helps her. Meanwhile, Yukio encounters a man with a burnt face named Ernst Frederick Egan. Claiming to be the Okamura brothers' grandfather, Ernst reveals that their mother Yuri wasn't killed by Satan, but rather was burned alive at the stake like a witch by the Vatican. He then takes Yukio to a secret anti-demon dragoon laboratory, suggesting that Yukio join him. In the Academy's great cell, Shura interrogates Neuhaus, and Rin goes in to listen. The professor reveals that his wife Michelle, aka the masked individual, got revived by a demon housing her corpse. However, as her body remembers that she was killed by Satan's blue flames, Michelle has turned into a vengeful demon herself, looking to kill anyone related to him. Doogies are probably like that 150-cent video, right about now. Eventually, Rin discovers that Shiemi is taking care of Michelle as she is the woman who appeared in her garden earlier, getting prevented from harming her. Later, Paladin Arthur arrives in the garden with the intention of killing Michelle, but Rin confronts him instead. As the boy fights back against the Vatican itself, Michelle sacrifices herself to protect him from the Order, dying in Neuhaus's arms with the hope of reuniting in the Garden of Amahara. Who can tell them? Right then, the bells ring for an urgent summons from the Vatican. There, Arthur finds out that Ernst Frederick Egan has dissolved the Grigori and assumed control of the True Control. With Yukio by his side, the man announces that it's time to go on the offensive against demons. Getting woken up by Kuro, Rin looks around the dorm room to see that Yukio still hasn't come back. Later, the X-Wires find out that Yukio has been appointed as the new head of the Japanese branch of True Cross Academy, along with receiving the title of Paladin. Rin finds out that Yukio is responsible for carrying out the plan called Jacob's Ladder, which involves driving away all the demons from the world, as per Ernst's orders. Equipped with special demon slayer weapons that take the power of slain demons to boost one's own exorcism, exorcists all around the world begin eliminating all demons from Asaya. However, the one-sided nature of the endeavor makes Shimi and the X-Wires question if what they are doing is right. They still only questioning it? Nah, everyone is slow. Meanwhile, Yukio reminisces about his conversation with Ernst about turning Rin and himself back to human by destroying Gehenna. Having spent the past 15 years in developing the ultimate weapon called Messiah, the man looks to gather huge amounts of demon blood via the new exorcism weapons, wanting to artificially open a Gehenna gate to fire Messiah inside it. Afterwards, Yukio gets into a fight with Rin after getting his ruthless methods questioned. Knocking the latter unconscious, the former takes him to Vatican headquarters. Later, Rin wakes up in a Casitas prison, with Mephisto locked up right across from him. After hearing about how the boy ended up there, Mephisto escapes. Blood really ditched him better than I ditch my plans. Ernst then shows up before Rin, referring to him as his grandson. News reaches Rin's friends that the Vatican plans to execute him, and they rush to its headquarters. Shura holds off Arthur, letting them go inside. Meanwhile, Ernst begins unleashing the Messiah, revealing that he intends on sacrificing Rin to open the Gehenna gate, much to Yukio's dismay. Sometime later, Rin's classmates arrive at his location and see Yukio enveloped in blue flames standing beside burnt corpses. Witnessing Rin's suffering, Yukio offers himself up to Ernst as the sacrifice to open Gehenna's gate instead, awakening his demonic powers. However, the Messiah fails to accomplish its task of destroying Gehenna miserably. While Ernst drowns in the swarm of demons, Satan reveals to Yukio that Ernst was the one who killed his mother, showing him their history as seen by himself. Yuri Egin, the daughter of the cardinal family's Ernst, comes across Satan's blue flames, realizing that she possesses an unnatural immunity to them. She ends up sympathizing with Satan, whose touch ends up turning everything to ash, no matter how much he loves it. So Yuri willingly stays secluded in a forest and allows Satan to inhabit her body. Showing him the wonders of the world, she even nurtures life with the entity, concluding that demons and humans can coexist. She a certified freak. Accused of forcing him onto Yuri, Fujimoto gets imprisoned. Eventually, the Grigori judge her to be a witch and prepare to burn her at the stake. In order to save her, Satan looks for a vessel to contain his power, only to end up burning whoever he possesses, resulting in the Blue Knight. With a single moment, he gets by possessing Ernst's body. Satan frees Yuri from her execution. Meanwhile, Mephisto frees the paladin Fujimoto, giving him Kurikara to slay Satan's offsprings. Yuri dies after giving birth to Rin and Yukio, leaving Fujimoto with the choice of killing them. However, seeing Rin smile, the paladin, feared for his cold-heartedness, decides to raise the children as his own. Mephisto laughs at the absurdity, proposing a gamble. If Fujimoto raises them as humans, he wins. Otherwise, if the children awaken to their true demonic nature, Mephisto gets to claim their lives. This dude always gambling. Someone take him to a casino or something. To make things fun, he helps Fujimoto by sealing Rin's power in Kurikara and gives a false report to the Vatican. Now, having seen everything himself, Yukio questions Ernst, who doubles down on his actions. The boy lets him sink into the Gehenna gate, after which Satan possesses his body. Rin wakes up, unable to believe his eyes. Conflicted with his own ideals, Arthur lets Shura run after the X-Wires. Meanwhile, Satan announces his plan to unite Asaya and Gehenna as one, preparing to kill Rin before he can stop him from doing so. Ryuji and the other X-Wires intervene, getting beaten down just by Satan's aura. Right then, Shura arrives there. Creating a distraction, she allows everyone to escape for the moment. Afterwards, Shura wants Rin to follow her plan to close the Gehenna gate first and foremost. However, he refuses to give up on Yukio and rushes out. Ryuji wants to follow him, but is made to understand that he will only be a hindrance in the battle and instead looks to help the people in town evacuate. Shura catches up with Rin, coming up with a plan to save Yukio, getting overheard by Shiemi. She better not F it up. Just as Satan thinks about realizing Yuri's dream of a united human demon, Shura shows up before him and begins talking to Yukio, albeit to no effect. Despite her best efforts, Shura soon starts getting overwhelmed by Satan's power. Seeing this, Shiemi intervenes and attempts to bring Yukio back. However, the girl gets captured by Satan, prompting Rin to give up on the plan and reveal himself. Never mind, she did in fact F it up. However, he drops his Kurikara, refusing to fight his little brother. While Satan continues to beat him to a bloody pulp, Rin keeps calling for Yukio, eventually managing to awaken his consciousness. Continuing to possess half of Yukio's being, Satan shoots Rin and looks to land the finishing blow. Just then, Yukio forces the gun to his own head to end himself along with Satan, getting punched by a tearful Rin, who refuses to lose another loved one. With this, Yukio fully regains control over his body and Satan is dispelled. Though, despite this, the Gehenna gate continues to become stronger. As demons begin to swarm the academy, Arthur joins the fight. Rin, Yukio, Arthur, and Shura all launch synchronized attacks at the Gehenna gate, but to no avail. given that it is being shielded by demons. Afterwards, Rin and Yukio ride Kuro to get closer to the gate, while the other X-Wires devise a plan to open a gate to the Vatican, where it is daytime currently, and reflect the sunlight to weaken the monsters guarding the Gehenna Gate. Blood really saw demons and became Einstein. Working hand in hand, Rin and Yukio gain immense control over their blue flames. Turning into the shape of a phoenix, they blaze through the Gehenna Gate, ultimately destroying it. Satan then appears as a small blue flame in a dark void before Yuri, apologizing for not being able to create their dream world. She forgives him, explaining that he was too early. Yuri believes that their sons will show them whether the path they chose was correct or not. Later, Rin and Yukio reunite with the X-Wires. Observing the scene from afar, Mephisto talks with a Maimon, who is a small hamster for now, and remembers a man from hundreds of years ago. He granted immortality to an elderly scholar, with the wager being that the man's soul would belong to Mephisto the moment he wished to die. I now enjoy the highest moment, this. Remembering these words that the man shouted at his last moments, Mephisto finally understands what he meant. 1 month later, life returns to normal at the academy, and Mephisto comes back as principal. Rin and Yukio visit their mother's home and her grave, understanding that they were born and raised because Fujimoto and Yuri worked so hard. Afterwards, Yukio fights off against a Ghost Rider demon, only for Rin to get involved like usual. This man really can't stop being the main character, can he?
How was the video? We hope it was good. If so, please check these videos. Also, please comment down your thoughts and your suggestions for future videos. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing now to show the support to our channel. We hope to see you soon with another video right in this channel. Have a nice day.